Welcome back to Wild Pony Design Studios. Thanks for joining me today. We are going to be making today this great messenger bag from Shamballa Patterns. It's called the Route 1970 or Route 1970, however you want to say it. It is a fantastic little bag. It's a messenger type bag. I guess it's kind of through her men's collection. You could make it in very masculine colors for a guy if you needed a messenger bag. I've made it out of this mermaid scale print from Sew Yours, and a luminescent green I do believe came from some Fabric Creations in Canada. I'm not 100% sure on that because I've had it in my stash for a while. But this is a fun little make. It has side pockets with magnets. Get it up out of the way so you can see it. Magnets holding the pockets. You don't have to put the magnets on if you don't want to. It's just a fun little feature. So on both sides. It has this great buckle feature on the front. It's just decorative. You don't need to use it. It's just there for decorations. But look how classy that looks. Look how that adds to the bag. So I've got a snap closure here with the flap. I've got a slip pocket here that you can just drop things in. I've got a huge inside that will hold my iPad. I've just chosen to do one zippered pocket, but you could easily do a slip pocket. She has actually a pattern, directions in the pattern to do a welt pocket. I just didn't have time to do that today, so I've added a crossbody strap made out of the same fabric. Oh yeah, and it has a back zippered pocket as well. I think this would be a great travel bag. I really do. I think it'd be perfect for being on the plane. It would hold your iPad, hold your passport, your travel documents. It's just a great bag, and I just love that little buckle feature on the front. And I've got snaps here, magnetic snaps that I've made it with. Added a matching crossbody. And this bag is about 11.5 inches tall, about 10 inches wide, and about 4 inches deep. So it's a good size messenger bag. So it will hold a lot of stuff. So grab a cup of coffee if you haven't already. Subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, and if you subscribe, get notifications. I'm on all the time. And grab a cup of coffee and come and join me while I make up this Route 1970. I keep wanting to say Route 66, but it's 1970, and it's from Shamballa Patterns. So let's get to it. Okay, so the fabrics I'm going to be using for this one are this great mermaid croc scale that I got from Sew Yours. That's going to be my flaps and my side pockets, and this is going to be the main kind of a shimmery green, which kind of goes really well together. I thought those went really nice together. And my lining is going to be this fun marbly, because I'm going to use all gold hardware, fun marbly gold cotton for my stash. I have that, so I'm going to use it. So I've done a little bit of prep, just some easy things. I just did the buckle. Its directions are super simple. I just folded it over and added on the buckle. So I've prepped that. Some of my accent straps I've prepped. My D-rings, I've all done that all ahead of time. And there's a little piece here that goes on for your buckle connector. And yeah, so that's what I've prepped. Let's get into sewing. This Shamballa pattern, and it's called the Route 1970. I'm trying to think where I was in 1970. I was just a kid actually in 1970, but yeah, it should be fun. Let's get to it. I know I haven't made this before, so I've got my instructions up here on my iPad, so I'm going to be reading as they go along. And I have done some of the markings for this is a drop-in lining, so as you can see, some of my things are already marked. So if you see any lines, I've just followed the pattern instructions, nothing special, and just marked for my drop-down lining. And I'm using my big clips. Guys, I love these big new clips. I got them from the quilting section in Hobby Lobby. They're about almost double the size. I'm wondering if maybe I won't drop them quite as easy because there's a little bit more grip there to hang on to. And I do like them. So I'm just following the seam allowances in the pattern. Stitches about 4.5, depending on what I'm doing. You see what I'm doing there? Let me just move it up a little bit. Got all my lights on. Yeah, those feel really nice. my scissors. I've used them all over the room. I don't know where they are now. Maybe they're over here. Yep, I found them. Must have used them when I was cutting out. Now I have, because I'm using cotton, I actually can iron this. So we're going to top stitch, and I'm using, I think it's spruce thread from Size Swag on this. It just seems to be the right color. So that's our main front panel. That's the top panel and the bottom panel in the lining. And now we're gonna go, I have a piece of Decaville light that I'm gonna go adhere to that. I have to turn my heat press on. I'll be right back. Okay, now I've got that, I've pressed my interfacing on that one piece that we did, and I have it below the line for turning. So don't have it too far up. So I just followed the directions for that. And that was our front piece. Now we're gonna move on to the piece that holds the slip pocket with this little tiny strap piece for the buckle. So we need that, and I have marked and I have placed Decaville over where my snap magnets are going to go and where the rivets go for the little strap keeper. So that's what we're going to do next. So I've made a hole. Let me just trim my threads here. This tiny little strap keeper, it's super small. So I've made my holes in there. Just going to get rid of my threads. Now I've got my holes, and I'm going to put they're small ones, they're not big ones. It says to put them in from the back. Maybe I'll do one at a time so they don't fall out, I think. And we're going to put our strap on, right side up, wrong side up, over that one hole. We're going to put that rivet on. And basically what we're going to do, if you can see that, so I've got my rivet, we're going to fold it over and put the rivet on the other side. So we'll have this little loop here. Okay, let me get this one on. Just want to make sure that's straight. So it's kind of not really in your view, but anyway, so I've got one. Oops. So I've done one. Now I'm going to put the other one through, so I'm going to put my rivet in the back. Move it down a little bit so you can see. Is that better? I'm going to bend this over and put it on the other rivet, and we'll put the back on that. So that's basically what it's going to look like. It's just a loop for the strap. Okay. Now I have to manhandle this to get it in there. I should be all right doing it like this. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to push it up out of the way, holding my rivet, giving it a press. There we go. I'm going to straighten it out. And that's what we've got. We've got a little loop that the buckle on the front of this bag is just decorative. I mean, you don't have to do if you don't want to. It adds a little, kind of a little feature to the bag. Okay, so then we're also going to, I'm going to install the, I have rivet magnets I'm going to use in this, so let me go grab that and I'll change my dies and I'll be right, and I'll show you how I do the magnets. Okay, so we're going to do the female part of this. Oh, I have to get two of them. I need that side. Okay, let me go grab another one. Change my dies. These are really easy to do. And I have the dies for the magnets for the 14 and the 18 on my website. Let me just go grab the second one, because I need two. Okay, so it's just two pieces. It's like a rivet for the back and the magnet for the front. So it says to install the female. So I'm going to do that. You just pop the rivet on the back. And then I take the die for that one, which is the one that has the little divot in it. So it sits right in there. I need to get my... Sorry, my other part was over there. This is kind of like the little adapter that goes with it, because this die is kind of small. So I put that in, I put that in, I put the rivet part in the top. I do have a piece of Decaville on in the back here. So now what I do is I take the female part and it sits on that little divot in the die. Put it in there, give it a press, and there we have a lovely installed magnet with a rivet back. Let me do the other side as well. Same thing. Pop that in your die. I'll do it this way so you can see maybe a little bit better. I'll show you up close after. It's super easy to install. You don't have to press really hard. It doesn't take a lot of effort. Then you have those really nice rivet magnets that are in that. Okay, let me just move all these little bits and pieces. Hang on, I'll be right back. Okay, so the next step really was to attach the buckle to here, but I decided I was going to edge coat the edge of my buckle because it was raw after I trimmed it. You just trim the end of it, that's how you get that point. And so I'm just waiting for my edge coating to dry, so I'm just going to wait on these exterior pockets here until my edge coating is dry, because I don't want to smudge it on my fabric. So I'm going to move on to the next step, which is going to be the back panel and the flap. So this is what my flap's going to look like. Isn't that fun? Okay, we're going to attach, this is my little piece of accent fabric that I'm going to use. So we're just going to attach to there. I don't have any interfacing on this, but I will be putting Decaville Heavy on it at the end. And I am loving these bigger clips, I must say. They feel so much better in my hand. Now the mermaid scale fabric came from Sew Yours. Some of this other stuff is just really from my stash. So we're going to turn the seam allowance. I can't tell you where this came from. It's kind of a coppery goldy color. The seam allowance is supposed to go towards the flap panel bottom. Let me see. So it must go this way. Turn seam allowance toward. Turn it to the bottom. Yeah, so we're going to do that. So we're going to make the seam allowances go down before we top stitch, okay? Sometimes you can kind of tell because that's just the way it wants to fall. So that's what we're going to go with. We're going to top stitch along that. Now this is where she says to add a logo, or if you want to, some kind of, I don't have any, I need to get some, I really need to get some. And we're gonna, she puts her logo there. I'm just looking at the her picture. She does a cute job. I don't have one. I'm running out of gold, so I think I'll just leave it off and just use one of my hang tags that I have that say Wild Pony Designs. So now what we're going to do is we're going to add the back piece. I've already installed the magnets on that, just the same way I did the other piece. This is just the opposite side, so they're just the rivets through the Decaville. No, nothing fancy. And I'm going to turn it, I think. I would like to, I don't want raw edges, so that's what I'm going to do. Hang on, I'll be right back. Okay, I'm going to clip this all the way around, and we're going to sew all the way around at our seam allowance, and I'm going to turn this. So just make sure that you, if you don't want to have raw edges, and I don't really want to have raw edges showing, so I'm going to turn mine. So I'm going to leave the top open, and I'm going to sew all the way around my curve. I'm going to use my seam guide because I want a really good seam allowance. I don't always use my seam guide, but I'm trying to do that a little bit more, especially around the curves. Just go slow so you get a really good, especially at the bottom, because we're going to turn it. So just take your time. The seam guide helps a lot with that, especially around the curves. Go slow if you need to. Stop and a couple stitches at a time and turn. It's always the curves where if you're going to mess up, you mess up. The flats are easy. It's the curves that throw us off. Just knowing exactly where your needle falls. Even I have to stop and just readjust. One thing I want to do is I want to check my piece of Decaville that I'm going to be inserting in there. I just want to make sure it's going to fit all the way down to the bottom. Yes, it's going to fit good. Just double check this here. I want to get it in there as best I can. Checking to see if it fits in my seam allowances. So I'm going to insert this after I've turned it. Okay, so I'm going to take my pinking shears. I'm just going to trim my corners. Not a lot, just enough to turn it. You don't want to get too close to your seams that you just sewed. We don't have a really big seam allowance on this pattern to do this, so just take your time. Just helps it turn, I think, a little bit better. Okay, we'll curve up the top here. Turn it, see how that looks. I'm probably going to go over to my machine and give it a little steam to flatten out all my edges. Take out my corners. I have a little pressing sheet that I use over at my iron, and that will help steam it up a little bit. I have a good steam on my iron, so I'm just going into my corners, poking out my corners, running the sides. So that's what it looks like from the front. My magnets are on the back. Okay, I'm just going to go over to my iron. I'm going to give it a little steam. Get those edges really flat, and I'll be right back. Okay, I gave that a little press. I made sure my side seams were good, and now I'm going to put in the Decaville. I'm just going to fold it over and pop it in there. Now, this may take me a little bit to get it all flat in there. I'll work with it as best I can. Remember, the pattern calls for this to be a turned, a raw edged pattern. And I decided to turn it, so you might have to trim your Decaville down just a little bit. Try to get right down there in the corners. Remember, there's a seam inside the bag. So there's a top seam and the bottom seam, if that makes sense. And I'm trying to get the Decaville on the bottom seam, so it's not, you know, there's two seams. There's a top, there's a bottom and a top. So I'm trying to work the Decaville down so it's laying underneath the bottom seam, if that makes sense, so that it's flat. You can kind of go in there and you can feel it if it's not. Maybe that will help. My toothpick will help with that too. Not toothpick, chopstick. And you can just go along and you can kind of feel. You want it to be on the same right there, so it doesn't feel right. I'm going to go in and make sure it's on the bottom seam, so basically underneath. And you should be able to feel it. Right here. I feel like it's not right here. Feels better. And I'm just going around. Let's see if I can push it down just a bit further. I want it right down to the edge here. Feels better. Just keep working it till you get it in where you want it. Yep, you can feel it now. Every time you go in there, of course, you have to kind of readjust. You see, I can feel that it's all the way down there now. I'll put this in and make sure it's right down here. That's where my seam is there. That feels good. Feels good there. Okay. I'm going to clip this, and I'm going to top stitch it all the way around, and then I'll also close the top part here. Making sure that feels good. Yep. I'm going to do a generous top stitch, maybe just a little bit bigger than an 1/8, so I make sure that just in case that I want to catch that Decaville that's in there. So I'll maybe do a real generous 1/8. It shouldn't be a problem though. Excuse me. Okay. Turn up a little bit again. You can see my machine. I wish I could bring you in a little bit better. Let me see if I can. I don't know if I can or not. Is that a little bit closer? That might be better. Okay, so a generous top stitch. I'm going to increase my stitch a little bit for this one. And I'm going to do not a 1/4, not an 1/8, kind of in between. So I'm going to put my presser, I have like my skinny foot on, so I'm going to make sure that my foot is actually on the fabric all the way around. Again, take your time on your curves. Remember, your magnets are in there. They shouldn't be that close that you should have to worry about them. Yeah, that looks good. Okay. Here's my flap. So that Deckerville Heavy gives it just a nice weight. This is going to be the inside. There's my snaps. That's going to be the outside. Okay, let me go and see if my edge painting is dry, and we'll go finish off the buckle. Okay, so I've did my flap. The flap's ready to go. I checked my little buckle piece, and that is dry enough. I think I can probably use it. See, I just put a little bit of edge coat on the bottom because I'm not a big fan of raw edge. So let's go back a few steps and we'll get to this piece here. Let me just back up a little bit because I am following the pattern as I go along, guys. This really is the first time I've made this bag too. Okay, so now we're going to insert the buckle in that little loop that we made. It fits in there just like a buckle, and we've got our centers marked at the top here. I'm going to bring it up just a little bit so that the buckle shows. I'm going to line that up at my center. I'm going to put a clip on there just to make sure I like it. No, I think it needs to go up just a little bit more. I don't want my buckle rubbing, so I'm going to bring that up a little bit. Look at that, isn't that pretty? So I think we're going to just stitch that on there. Get a quick seam allowance. Let me make sure I turn my seam allowance, my seam down a bit. Just basting down the top. Now, it doesn't say anything about trimming it, but I'm guessing I might want to do that after I've sewn these two pieces together. Okay, now we're going to do our top, slip pocket exterior top. We're going to attach that. Yeah, turn the seam allowances, and yeah, we're going to top stitch after this. So, okay, so we're going to do our regular seam allowance for this one. Remember, this buckle's just for show, so I'm definitely going to see how I have that overhang. I'm definitely going to trim that off. Okay. Now we're going to turn the seam allowance to the top, push it to the top. And then we're going to top stitch on that. these guys. It's really cute. I love this luminescent green that I'm using. Can you see how it's kind of luminescent? That's what it looks like. So far, so good. And now we need a slip pocket lining to go on that. Let me just grab that. Do I have it down here? And over there. I've got stuff everywhere as usual. Slip pocket lining. I think it's over here. Let me bring all my lining pieces over. Okay. It's not that one. It's not that one. It's not that one. It's got to be here somewhere. There it is. There we go. The slip pocket lining. So it's this one. Nothing to be marked on that one. Right sides together. Along the top. Let me mark my center. I do like these clips. I think they hold a little bit more too. Okay, seam allowance. And the pattern, it's 1/4 inch, so no big deal, no mystery there. And we're going to open that up. We're going to keep the seam allowances towards the slip pocket lining and top stitch. Then we're folding half wrong sides together to match the lower edges. So we're going to fold this down, line up the bottom. I'm going to top stitch along the fold. So I folded it down, lines up at the bottom. Now we're going to run a top stitch across the top. My machine does not sound right. No. Maybe I'm getting low on my bobbin. That could be. I was trying to use up some half bobbins and I might be out. Let me see. Yep, I am. Okay, I got another half one here. I'm going to take my chance and use that. I'll check it before I do any serious top stitching. Sometimes I just have these little bits and pieces and I just hate to waste them. Okay. Okay, looks good. Good thing I didn't get too far along in that. At least it was at the beginning. Maybe I'll make these stitches just a bit bigger for this one. and then she wants you to do a second row, an 1/8 inch away from the one we just did. So that's what we're going to do. It'll give us a nice finished look. All right, and that's what we have. Am I supposed to go all the way around? I don't think so. Isn't that pretty? Look how pretty. That's so pretty. Okay, let's see what the next step is. We're going to attach the slip pocket to the front panel. Okay, let me go figure out which parts are next. Okay, it's the one we did before with the one with the lining on the bottom. So we're going to line this up. I am going to measure to make sure, just in case. I can trim the bottom, but I can't make this any different, so I always like to measure. I'm just going to measure. 2 1/8. 2 1/8, right there. Now I will clip those two sides and I'll have a look and make sure it looks good all the way around. I may have to trim a little bit. Let's see. See, I'm off a little bit at the bottom. My lining's a bit off, but that just might be I can trim that. Not a worry. I just want to make sure that everything's as closely lined up. I guess I could bring it down just a little bit. I don't know if she gives you a final length of this. So I'm just doing a little bit of prep work to make sure I like it. That's the same. That's not the same, so this one needs to come down a little bit. Okay, that's good. I'm definitely going to have to do a little bit of trimming after, but that's okay. We are going to top stitch all the way around, so we're going to use lots of clips because we don't want it to shift. Don't want any fabric to slip, so we're going to just take our time and top stitch all the way around. I'm off a little bit. Let me go, I'm going to unpick this side seam here because it didn't catch, and I'm just going to shift it over a little bit. I'll come back when I fixed it. Alright guys, so this is where we are so far. We've got this part done with the buckle. We've got the flap done with our magnets, and this is what it's going to look like when we put it all together. Snaps line up great. Flap's going to be over the bag, and we have this gorgeous buckle feature on the bottom. Okay, so we're going to put these aside right now. We'll work on to our next step. We're going to be adding a zipper panel to the back pocket. So we need our 2 back panels, our zipper pocket, back panel bottom. And I've got double-sided tape here on the bottom. I've got double-sided tape to the top back panel. I've got double-sided tape on our lining piece, which is the let's see, it's the back pocket lining. That's what that is. Okay, so we're going to work with our zipper. We've got these lovely green zippers. I hope they match okay. Sometimes picking out a zipper is the worst part, especially when you don't have much. We're just going to put our zipper tabs on just the normal way. Nothing fancy about the zipper tabs. I'm getting close to the end of this. I like to put a little bit of tape on the ends of my zippers. At the very end. I'm going to use up every last piece of this. I think that's it. I can throw it out. Okay. So just an easy normal zipper tab. Place your zipper tab on the end. Line it up. Same on this side. You're going to sew it on with a quarter and then turn it and top stitch. Okay. I don't like them to slip, that's why I like to use the tape. I can hear that this bobbin is getting low, and then we're going to turn it open and just top stitch. Okay, get my threads out of the way. Let's bring these two pieces in. So we've got our tabs on the end of our zippers. You see that? Okay, now we're going to take the back panel bottom. We've got our center marked. I've got the center marked on my zipper. And we're going to have the zipper pull right sides together with the pull going to the left. I'm going to turn it this way because I can see it just a little bit better. Okay, we've done that. Then we're going to attach the back zipper pocket over top of that. So we've got tape on here. We're going to attach that to the top. Let me just make sure I've got my centers. Now, we've used tape here instead of basting. If you want to baste your zipper on right here, go ahead and baste it 1/8, but the tape should hold it. I'm a tape person, so. Now this is just a little bit smaller than piece, so there's supposed to be some edges there. Okay, you see there's a little note here. Okay, we're going to sew this on with a 1/4 inch seam allowance all the way across. I'm going to put my seam guide down. For my zipper pull. Okay, we're going to flip all that to the back. Pull that down in the back, really good. Finger press or press with the iron if you want to. And we're going to top stitch all along there. Okay, now we're going to take the double-sided tape. Let me mark my centers on this end again. Okay, we're going to take the tape off of there. Hopefully. Okay, now we're going to take that up and we're going to center that on the zipper. All the way along. I feel like I'm missing something here. Nope, I don't think I am. Fold it to the back. Yep, we're going to base, she wants us to base that on. So we're going to just base that. You don't want that to come off, so we're going to base that zipper in place there. It's a really small basting. Okay, now we're going to sew down the sides to close off. So we're going to fold that up and we're going to stitch down either side of that pocket. So get as close to the top seam as you can without sewing through it. We don't want to sew through it. I'm just going to back stitch. Okay. Same here. I'm gonna do it from this side, I think. Let's see. I'm going to move it over and do it this way. I think it'll be a little bit easier. We don't want to sew through that top part there. We just want to sew the pocket. You can see it a little bit better from here. Okay, so we've got a pocket now. Okay, and now we're going to put everything to the front and we're going to match up the top piece. So this is the back panel top that we're going to be attaching. And I can do it this way because I can see my centers a bit better. There we have it. I'm just making sure that's all lined up. I shouldn't have to clip it because it's got the tape on it. Okay, we're going to do that. We want to make sure that our top is aligned with the edges here. And we're going to do that, and we're going to also watch for our zipper tab, our zipper pull. Feel it in there. There it is. Out of the way. And we're top stitching. Make sure that my seam's going in the right direction, otherwise it will not look good. It was about to slip on me there. I think it has to go up. I'm assuming it has to go up. Doesn't really say, but I think up is the way we need it to go. Let me take that out, start again. I just didn't like the way that was feeling. It didn't feel right. I can get the seam holes, but the back didn't feel good. See, it was starting to twist on me and I didn't like that. Where's my top stitch? It's this one. So I'm just going to unpick it, not a big deal. I could just feel it was going to get away from me there, so. Right there, it was going to get away from me. Okay, I'll just put my needle down in the same hole. It should be just fine. That feels better. And I can, a little bit of zipper tab that can trim away there. Now this is where in the pattern she has you attach your stabilizer, but I did my pieces individually because I didn't want to attach stabilizer over a pocket and over a zipper on my heat press. So I just did them individually. You just take your one big pattern piece and just cut it for this piece and then cut the top for that piece. But in the pattern, she has you putting it on now. But I decided not to do that. Okay. Now we need we've got our back pocket piece, we need our flap now. This gorgeous flap that we made. So do I have a center on my flap? I should do that. So the flap is going like this. Oh, I didn't make marks. I need some marks on that. Let me go find what my marks should be. Hang on. Okay, I have to mark my flap. In the pattern, there's a flap panel placement. Okay, it's on the pattern. Tells you what to do. There's also a note on there for the flap accent, which we're going to put over top. So I'm just going to do a couple of little marks here. There's my center there, and my center's there. Let me just do a center mark down a little bit further so I can actually see where my center is. My center is right here. I don't know if we should tape this or, yeah, double-sided tape. I think that's a very good idea. Let me just get my wonky threads here. I haven't made a bag like this before, so I thought it would be kind of fun to do. Okay, there's my center. Now, to make sure it's centered, I'm going to measure in from each side. I'm going to start over here. Perfect. Perfect. Now I'm going to top stitch along there. Get my tools in the right spot here. Keep organized. Try not to lose them, but that happens all the time anyway. So now I'm going to base this on. I think this bobbin's getting low. I'm getting there. I can feel it. It's getting low. Okay, we've done that. So this is what it looks like so far. We've got our pocket. This is going to be the back of the bag, so this is going to fold over. Isn't that pretty? Isn't that gorgeous colors? Absolutely gorgeous colors. Look at the light catches on that. I just love it. Okay, let's see what's next. Okay, now we've got to move. We have to use the back lining accent strip. Okay, oops, that's come apart on me. I'm going to put some double-sided tape on this one. Double check on how far down that one should be. From the top. It should be about right there. And I think this should go all the way across. Yes, it does. Okay, that's going to go all the way across. So we've measured down from the top using our pattern piece. I'm going to hold that up, make sure it looks even. I feel like it doesn't look even. Let me measure from here to here. I feel like this side's just a little bit higher. That's better. It's easier to fix it now than after you've sewn it on. So let me just have a little look here. I still feel like the left side is a little bit higher. So I feel like this needs to go up a little bit. Sorry, this is kind of fiddly work, but it's the way I like to do things. I feel like this just needs to go up just a bit more. So that it's straight on here. That looks better. That looks better. Sometimes just the little things. Just the little things. So now we're going to top stitch down both sides, top and bottom. that. Okay, now we're going to go on to the next part, which is making the gussets. So let me just gather up my pieces and we'll get to the gussets. Okay, now we're going to work on the gusset. So we've got our gusset pieces here. We have a top and a bottom to the gusset. And another thing I did on the gusset, I'm letting you know right now, is that I split up the interfacing. Once again, she has us adding it after we've got the D-rings and everything on, and I just don't think I'd like to do that on my heat press. So I just split the piece in half and added it out of the seam allowances, and I also made sure it was where the fold is down for our drop-ins. So that's my marked line there. I've also made the marks according to the pattern on where we're going to put the D-ring connectors. And we'll start with those. And I've got double-sided tape on the back. It's marked as far as we're supposed to sew up and around. And then the wide bottom is, we're going to place the bottom of the D-ring connector at the wide part. And I've made a center mark. So I'm just going to run that, hopefully, all the way down centered. That looks pretty good on both. Following our center line down the connector. Okay, now we're going to sew. That one doesn't look right. Redo that one. That looks better. Okay, now we're going to sew up and around and down, and then we're going to put a rivet in here. I'm going to do that before I attach this part. Now she has you going a certain height all the way up, so it's even. Kind of losing my marks there. Put right here. My erasable pen erased too soon. I think I'm out of bobbin. Yep. Let me just go out a few there. I might as well just pick those out and start again. There's not many, so. I knew that was going to happen sooner or later. That's okay, I'm using up all my little bits. Now I have a full one to work with. I was running out of empties. I needed to empty those other ones. Okay. Always do a runner on a scrap piece first. Just in case. Okay, I'll try that again. Same holes. There we go. I'm just making sure that my backside's not going to be hanging over. And I lost my mark again. That's all right, I'll make a new one. Almost see it, but not quite. Those are those. Now she has us adding rivets and magnets here. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go add my rivets now while the piece is still small. And we're just going to add it just above that seam. Let me just go over to my press and I'll be right back. Okay, I've done that. I've added my rivets. Really, I just went over to my press, just a regular rivet. Okay, now we're going to add the gusset bottom, which is a lining piece. And sew that on a regular seam allowance. Okay, we've done that. Now we're going to open that. We're going to top stitch. And we're going to press our line, the seam allowance towards the lining. Okay. So going down, top stitching. Now we're going to do some more magnets here. Set straight. I feel like that's not straight for some reason. There's my seam off there. Let me double check. Let me just redo that. Feel it wasn't quite where I wanted it. It had shifted up a little bit. That's an easy fix. I'm just picking out that I had sewed from the lining side and it wasn't quite the way I wanted it. Okay, a couple more. There we go. That feels better. Stitching that. Okay, now this isn't where she has us adding the stabilizer, but mine is already done. So now we're going to install magnetic snaps, and we're going to follow the directions for where we're going to place them. I might use a different pen for that, one that will stay. Okay, I'm going to go over to my press. I have to change my dies out and everything, so I'm going to go over to my press and I will put the female side of the magnetic snaps in. Sorry guys, I got a phone call and my recording cut out. I'm not exactly sure where. I'll stop, show you what I did. So we've put the lining piece on. I've just folded it over and attached it to the bottom, so now there's a fold at the top. You can see where I put my snap and there's a fold at the top. So I've just folded it down. My camera went off, so sorry about that. I've done one top stitch along the top. Just be careful where your snap is, and now I'm going to do a second one. Okay, so we've got our top stitching now done along the top there. So now I'm going to just top stitch around the side. I think it's going to make it a little bit easier to install, so I know that the sides won't shift. So I'm just going to go all the way around. A little bit of excess there. So now we have our side with our snap, which is going to go here. So now we're going to take our gusset piece. This lines up with the bottom. I'm going to clip that. I'm just going to make sure it lines up with the marks that we made on the side. Just want to make sure it's level. The level has to come first. You can see where our snaps will go there. See that? So it'll snap together. There's a little marks that we made. Just want to make sure that all lines up good. There and there. So I'm just going to baste along the bottom to hold that in place. Okay. And now we're going to attach our sides. So this pocket's going to be, it's going to stick out a little bit, and it's going to snap in the middle. So that's going to be fun. So now we're going to just take our side pieces and line it up with the little marks that we made earlier when we cut that piece out. Go all the way down, and we'll baste that on. Okay, we've done one side. Just going to trim a little bit of interfacing sticking out there, and I'm just going to trim that off while I can see it. So we've done one side. Now we're going to pull the other side over to reach the side on this side. So the pocket's going to have like a little, it's going to be like an extra bigger pocket, okay? Again, line up your marks. fit all the way down. And baste that on. Okay, so now we have this really nice pocket and with the snap-on, so you can see what it looks like. You don't have to put the snap-on if you don't want to, but I like the snap, so I'm going to just line up my snaps and I'll snap that in, and that's what it's going to look like on the side of the bag. So you do the exact same thing to the other side, and then you'll have two of these for our side gussets. Alrighty, so it's really cute. Just loving this. I really am loving this fabric. So we've got two pockets on our sides, and that's what we've got now. Okay, so I'll gather up the pieces for the next part, which is going to be, I think we add the bottom, and I need to put purse feet on the bottom piece, so let me go do that and I'll be right back. There's my bottom piece. I've got my purse feet installed. Now we're going to take our bottom piece and our two gussets that we've done, and we're going to attach the bottom to the gussets. And we're going to top stitch. Probably top stitching. Let me just look here. Doesn't say. I'm going to do it the way it falls. It falls towards the bottom, so that's what I'm going to do. Top stitch on what we just did. I'm loving these big clips. I really like these big clips. Alright, so that's what we've got. We've got our bottom, our sides, we've got our whole gusset. Make sure your centers are marked on your bottom. Don't forget to do that. And I think now we are going to attach the gussets to the front panel. And make sure I have my centers marked down here as well. So depending on how this fabric lays, I may use staples, but I'm not sure yet. So I'm just attaching this to the bottom. Let me just see if it gives us any tricks and tips. Nope, just the normal gusset installation. Then we're going to go add the top. Making sure everything's lined up. Going to go down the sides. Oops, it went right in the bin. I don't know if I can read it. The clip went right in the garbage bin. Can you believe that? I just couldn't have found that if I'd wanted to. Well, I'll have to dig for that later. They still fly, even though they're big. Let's see if she has this clipping anything. I don't know if she does, but I probably will clip a little bit. It's just always a little bit easier to get that corner if you clip. Just don't clip past a 1/4 inch because that's our very small seam allowance. So just do small. Just do small ones. I think I'm gonna use staples because my fabric is quite stiff, so I am gonna staple. It won't be this way because my clips are flying off, so it's probably a good idea to staple. Sometimes the stiffer the fabric, the harder it is to hold together. I definitely feel like it's going to slip. So I'm going to add some staples out of the seam allowance, so they're quite close to the edge. And I'll watch as I'm sewing, make sure that I don't hit those. I may have to remove some of these staples as I get close to them. We'll see. Okay, let me staple around here now. I'm just going to snip back some of the bulk in those corners. Not out of the corners, but just a little bit. Okay. Now I'm just going to work that gusset around that curve, stapling as I go. My pocket's kind of not sticking in there. Okay, how's that look? So make sure everything's where it should be. Nothing's slipped too far. Hang on, a little bit of here, maybe another one in the garbage. I'm gonna have to empty my garbage tonight, guys. I don't know if I can see that one. Yeah, that one fell on top. Found it. Okay, now we're going to sew that around. She said to make sure the pockets are unsnapped, so that makes sense. Okay, we're going to start and with our gusset side up, and I'm going to get my staple remover just in case I need to remove some as I go here. take your time and go around. I'm going to use my seam guide because that's going to be more accurate. Going nice and slow in case I have to get any staples. So far so good. Working my gusset around the corner, trying not to get any wrinkles. Sometimes it's just one stitch at a time. So far so good with the staples. With a lot of staple because it is wanting to shift a little bit. And the reason I like stapling is I don't have to mess with clips when I'm doing this, because sometimes you need all your hands to hold the gusset in place, especially when you've got that real heavy in the way. Okay, needle down. I'm going to work this as best I can. Maybe a screwdriver might be better than a stiletto. Let's get something wide so it can help press down. There we go, that's better. So I'm just using a flat screwdriver instead of my stiletto. This kind of helps to press a little bit more. There we go. Excellent. Make sure. See, it did slip. It slipped a little bit there. Can you see that? That's the side I didn't staple, but everything else looks pretty good. I may have to go back and I'm going to have to go back and do that side. So let me go around. I'll take my staples out and I'm going to go and fix this. You can see how that slipped. I don't like that, so I'm going to go take that out and I'll fix it and I'll come back. Okay, I fixed up that side. I'm just turning it inside out. All I did is just I just unstitched it and redid it so it would look nice down the side. Oh, man, that looks good. Look at that. There's my bottom. See, if you take your time around the curves, you have really nice bottoms and not a lot of puckering. I'm going to go and give this a little steam. Give these corners a little press. Man, that is pretty. Look at that. Let me just snap those sides together. Oops. Look at that. Isn't that pretty? Perfect. Okay, I'm going to go and do the exact same thing to the other side, and I'll bring it back when we're finished. Okay, so I'm on my last seam, and I'm just going around it a second time to give it some extra support. It's a pretty sturdy bag, so I'm just sewing inside my last stitch, so I'm not going past it. I'm not changing the shape of it at all. Just going in, watching my staples. This is just going to help the seam stay a little bit stronger. On those curves. Just before our fold over for our drop-in lining, I don't want to sew up there because I want to open the seams so they're nice and flat. Okay, let's take out any extra staples. Haven't missed anything. I'm gonna do a little bit of trimming. Just gonna trim around these corners here. Not too much because we do have a small seam allowance, but I don't want to leave a lot of bulk in the corner, so I'm just gonna take a little bit off. Just a little bit. Seam on this one. Interfacing is lifting a little bit there, but it won't matter. Now, let's give it a turn. It's kind of stiff, so I'm going to use my hairdryer in there to kind of warm it up a bit. Before we do that, I'm actually going to go over to my ironing board and I'm going to repress. My Decaville light came off here a little bit, so I'm going to go, oops, you can't see, sorry. I'm going to go over to my ironing board and see if I can press that so it sticks a bit better. I'll be right back. Okay, I gave that a little, I just stuffed it full with fabric. And I took it over to my machine and gave it a little press. Hopefully it'll stay. If not, if worse comes to worse, I can always add a little bit of glue. But now I'm going to try and turn it. That should be fun. Oh my goodness, this is so cute. Sorry, I know I'm mostly doing this off camera, but I'm kind of doing it in my lap. Oh my goodness, guys, this is going to be so cute. I'm just going to give it a little. It's going to help me press out the corners. Put that back in, my buckle. Snap up the front. Oh my goodness, this is going to be so nice, guys. Snaps on there. Look how cute that is. Move it back a little bit so you can see. You see that? We are now finished with the exterior. I do believe. Yep, we're done. So my next step is the lining. I'm just trying to get this soft. Look how cute that is. Okay, so that is our exterior finished. We've got our zip pocket in the back. We've got our 2 side pockets here. We have a front slip pocket here. And our nice cute buckle, just for show. This is going to be really nice. The Root 1970. Okay, I am going to go eat some lunch because it's lunchtime. And then I'll gather up all of our lining pieces together and we'll start working on the lining. Here are our lining pieces. I've already gone ahead and put a zipper overlay panel on there. I just sewed around the top, cut out the inside. Got some double-sided tape on there. The pattern has a welt pocket, but I do love a zipper overlay, and I think it looks really nice with the matching fabric, so that's what I'm going to do. Now we're going to attach our zipper and take our pocket piece, and I've got double-sided tape top and bottom. We're going to lay the zipper on right side up. We sew that on. Just a 1/4 inch, I think. A small quarter. Open that up and baste it down so it lays flat for when we want to put it in the zipper overlay part. So I'm just going along it again. Take the tape off the other side. Making sure the edges line up. To be the top, I want it to close that way, then I'm just going to cut this pocket in half. So that's what it looks like. So when it folds down, we'll have the right sides of the pocket showing. Okay, so we're going to take our other lining main panel, take my double-sided tape off, and we're going to center the zipper in this hole. Got my zipper jig. I'm going to try and center it so that there's an even amount of pocket on either side. I guess we really could measure if we wanted to. A little bit more that way. That's about as close as I'm going to get it, I think. So I'm just going to use my zipper jig, run that over my zipper, and get that centered in there. Nope, that's not good at all. That's me. looks better. Looks good. Now I'm going to sew around the inside. So I'm just super picky about that. If I see something that's not quite right, I'll stop and fix it so it looks right. Everything seems to be a bit off today. There we go. That looks better. Again, and make sure I put my zipper pull back in. My third match is pretty good with this, so I'm not going to worry about pulling everything through to the back because you really can't see it on the front. The thread blends perfectly. Okay, now I'm going to fold this back pocket down. And I'm going to sew up and down the sides, and all the way across the bottom, because we're going to drop this lining in, so you don't have to worry about leaving the hole open at the bottom. And then we have our pocket. Nice pocket. Okay, I think we're going to add tops to this. If you wanted to, you could add a slip pocket on the other side. The pattern doesn't call for that, but you could easily, there's enough room, you could add a slip pocket on here if you wanted to. It's big enough. Now the lining contrast band, make sure I get the top and the bottom. There's a little bit of a shape to this one, so make sure you get the right pieces. I'm going to measure my tops and bottoms on both. And this does need a line drawn on it, so let's see. Yes, and I'm going to do that before, because this is going to be for our turn down. I just want to double check. Yep. Same on this piece. The white part is the top. It's easier to do it now than after. Alrighty, I'll add that to both tops of both of those lining pieces. I do do this one already? Nope, not yet. Thought I did, but I must have just not made my neck quite big enough. There, now I can see it. Alrighty. I have my top marked on here. Nope, not yet. Okay, make sure you get it going on the right way. Threads held properly. We're going to press the seam allowances down to the lining, and we're going to top stitch on the lining. Two pieces together. She does have the welt pocket and zipper pocket, but I'm just going to do the one pocket. I'm going to skip the welted pocket, but that's okay. You can do that. Match up my side seams. And as we sew this, we're going to increase our stitch length around the lining towards the bottom so it fits in the bag really good. So we're going to stay at the seam allowance at the tops and increase as we go down. corners. Okay, that's our lining done. If you have that extra pocket, that's okay too. So now what we're going to do is we're going to start doing the drop-in part of this. So let me go and get all the stuff together and I'll be right back. Okay, I've got my lining pieces here and I'm ready to insert them into the bag. So what I've done is I've gone around the top of my lining, double-sided tape, folded it over like we're supposed to, down to that mark we made. I've done the same thing on the top here, folded it over. Now I've added a row of double-sided tape and we're going to insert our lining in there and we're going to attach our lining to the bag. And then what I will do is I will take you over to my other machine and we'll top stitch over there. Let's see, I want my zipper on the back, so I'm just going to be careful to tuck that inside. I'm going to line up my seams as best I can. We're going to be using a lot of clips. So I line up that seam. I'm just eyeballing it, centering it with the rivet on the connector. Okay, and I'm just having it just a hair below the outside. Okay, and then we'll just play with it and get it all in place loosely. I'm just going to get it in there loosely first. Because you never know sometimes if it fits good. Oh yeah, this is fitting good. I could have it a little bit lower. I'll put it over here. You can see what I'm doing. I always kind of have to put things on my knee. I can see it a little bit better because I'm kind of short. There we go. And I'm just working this in all the way along. And I want it to be as even with the top as I can, but not over the top. So when you look at it, you don't see the lining. That's what I want. That's the look I'm going for. I think if I'm going to go, I think I'll use my big clips. They're a little bit easier to manage with the other machine. Good, smoothing it out as I go along. Do the same to the front here. The front's a little bit not quite the way I want it. Working it in, it's much easier to rearrange with the tape on it. It is a good idea to have the tape on the inside to work with. Everything's looking really good. So that's my top. Can you see that now? And it's not too far down, it's even all the way around. So that's the look we're going for. So let me go, and I have to go thread. I have to move all my thread over. So let me go move my camera and my thread, and I'll meet you at my other machine. And then we're almost done. Okay, I've got you over at my other machine. Hopefully that's a good angle. I'm gonna top stitch around my bag. I've got everything clipped. I'm gonna try and start in the back in case I have to do something. I'm gonna try and start in the back as best I can. I'm thinking maybe I'm gonna put my little extended table on for this. Let's just get these screws. This one's long enough that I think it will. Okay, let me just put these on. It just gives the bag a little bit of support. Okay, I feel that's a bit better. Then I don't have to worry about it slipping quite so much. Put my light down there. I'm sorry if it's the wrong angle. I'll try and start at the seam. Take my time going around. I can't really see it, but I'm just working my way around the top. Slowly but surely. Not going too fast. I don't want it to slip. Putting that little table in there was a big help. Okay, that's the front. Almost there. I'm just going to move the flap out of the way. Can you see that here? Oops, that's not going to work. I need the light, but I don't want it to be in your guys' way. Maybe my camera would be better on the other side. But we're almost there. The top stitch really, really nicely. Move you back just a bit so you can see it. Actually, I'm going to move you back over to my other machine. Hang on. Okay, back over to the other machine. I have a little bit more table space here to show you, and the camera's a better set up. So there's my top stitching. Beautiful. Quite happy with that. Nice and even. This is a great bag. I'm pretty sure that my iPad will fit in there. Let me have a little look. Let me give it a try. If I can get it off here. Maybe I can't, but I'm pretty sure my iPad will definitely fit in there. Crossbody. Let's get it all untangled. That is a great, great bag. Here, let me push you back a little bit so we have a little bit of space here. You can see the bag. The Route 1970 by Shamballa, or Route 1970, however you want to say it. I say Route. Look at that, guys. That's a great bag. And once again, that my vinyl, this mermaid steel vinyl is from So Yours. The glitter vinyl, I think it came from Sam's Fabric Creations, but I'm not 100% sure. It's been in my stash for a while. So we've got this slip pocket here inside. I mean, sorry, not slip pocket, zipper pocket inside. Plenty of room for all sorts of things. We've got our magnetics flap that comes over the cute little buckle, which is decorative. We've got our sides with our snaps, our magnetic snaps for little pockets. And that's on both sides. See that? This is a great little bag. I'll put it on for you guys. Well, I'll just hold it up so you can see it. It's like a messenger bag, messenger type bag. Let me just do the crossbody so you can see. The strap's a bit stiff, it's kind of new still. So there it is. Big, great travel bag too, guys. Nice slip pocket here for passports and things, phone, keys. Perfect little bag. The Route 1970 by Shamballa. Go get the pattern. It's not difficult. Not at all. Thanks for watching, everybody.